This is Nan McKay, and I would like to introduce you today to Guadalupe Hirt and Barbara Brooks. Aged out of their careers, Guadalupe and Barbara started SecondActWomen, joining forces to help women as they faced gendered ageism in the corporate world and beyond. Their mantra is that the time is now to challenge the status quo and reclaim our narrative. Let's find out about the history and the organization that they started, SecondActWomen. So welcome, both of you.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
Can each of you tell us your story about waking up to the reality of gendered ageism?
I'll let Lupe go first.
Awesome. Okay. Well, so, I have always been an entrepreneur, and I got to a point in time where it was after a 20 some odd year doing businesses, starting up and working on my own, that I said, you know what, enough. I want to get into corporate America, collect a steady paycheck, and hopefully, live a less stressful life. It didn't quite pan out that way. After submitting several resumes, thinking I've got 20 plus years of experience under my belt, I'm a public relations, expert. I've founded 4 companies. I'm an associate producer on a short subject documentary. I figured anybody would be thrilled to have me. And it was actually quite the opposite. Instead of like the enthusiastic, you're hired letters or opportunities, I got Dear Jan letters. And coincidentally, at the time, my work wife, Barb, was kind of pursuing an opportunity she had put on the shelf for a few years. And it just serendipitously worked out that we were both kind of in stride, figuring out that there was something, awry here with women trying to get back into the workforce, or even women trying to get into the workforce at 40 and 50 plus.
And you're thinking, what's going on? Am I the only one? Was that going through your head?
Absolutely. I mean, we thought that, oh, you know what, this can't be, a pervasive problem. This can't be something other women. And then we started talking to other women, and we realized it wasn't our problem alone, but actually something a lot of women in our age demo were facing. Do you want to share a little bit about your story, Barb, too, about how it all got started?
Yeah. So we started SecondActWomen, not on a whim at all. It was started because, much like Lupe, I was trying to get back into corporate, being a corporate leftover, having been in corporate for just over 20 years, and I wanted something a little steady. At the time in 2018, I was 51 and still single, with a very large responsibility. That would be my 4-pound dog, and in a home, so a larger responsibility. And so, I just couldn't get hired. I couldn't get those interviews, and I didn't understand what was happening. And so I decided, well, I guess the Lord telling me I need to stick with entrepreneurship and pull an idea off the shelf that I had on the shelf for 5 years. And that was to create a women's, really an event company based on bringing women, especially entrepreneurs, together. So we were going to launch a Women's Business Week, and it would be a national and then turn into a, international program. And then instead, during our research, as we were, as I was creating SecondActWomen, or what was going to become SecondActWomen, I started hearing some similarities in some of the discussions that were happening in the brainstorm session about what this event could be about and how it can help women. And so, that's how SecondActWomen came to be. And I put the other idea back on the shelf. And so we launched SecondActWomen. And the idea was that it was not eventually to be just an event company, but it sort of boiled into much more than that as we've come along.
Why do you think it's happening? Are you seeing in the corporate life, are you seeing that younger employees who maybe don't have the expectations of salary and benefits might be a contributing factor, or why do you think it's happening?
I don't think that's actually it. I feel like we are living in a society that hasn't necessarily caught up with the pace and the new lifestyle that people 40 and 50 plus are living. I think we're in a time and place now where they just haven't caught up. The fact that we're living healthier, longer lives, we're looking for more fulfillment in our everyday. We are on the job, wanting to be on the job longer. And I don't think there's a lot of historical data, unfortunately, that shows people, just 100 years ago, people weren't living past 50, 60 years old. So this is truly, I think, a new kind of point in time where I think we as people are evolving at a much faster pace, are wanting to be more present, or wanting to be more engaged and live a more fulfilled life, both on the job and off. And companies, are still trying to catch up and figure out how to do that, how to kind of bridge that, that opportunity where we could coexist and work and collaborate alongside our younger counterparts and create more intergenerational workforces versus just having to be an us versus them.
Well, I think about the lawsuit that is going on right now with a major corporation who has been calling their older women employees dino babies, dinosaur babies, and saying that their main problem is that they're not staying up with technology. So if we look at what you're talking about, we're looking at the younger people coming up. Mm-hmm. And we're looking, I think, at the third thing, which ties in, I think, to what you were saying, and that is women in their 50s don't fit that mold of granny sitting in the rocking chair feeding cookies all day to their grandchildren.
Right.
I think that's a piece of it but what else? I mean, why with all the background that you both have and that other women have, why are they getting shut out?
We're undervalued. We go unheard. Our women feel a lack of confidence because of those things, but also on top of that, we are not, our experience isn't as, oh gosh, I was looking for a word, isn't as,
valued or
I can't believe I lost my word, but for some reason right now, at least for the companies that don't have DE&I initiatives, and of those that don't have age as a part of it, they are trying to save money. They believe that exactly what you said a moment ago is that we lack tech skills. We lack even the upskill of other hard skills is what they say, right? But there hasn't been a precedence to keep us in the work field, or at least enough of us so that we could prove them wrong. Because in actuality, not only do we bring the wealth of experience, but we have this, at least in our community, what we find is this thirst to continue to learn. There's this thirst to continue to, all right, if they are not familiar with a CRM system, then I'm going to go and I'm going to YouTube it, and I'm going to learn what a CRM system is. If they don't know Slack 100%, then I'm going to take that course, is what we're hearing. And I'm going to take that session, get on Coursera, learn it from SecondActWomen or whomever, and learn about that technology, especially if that's going to make, in her mindset, her job easier as well. So I think we're just mistaken for what we bring and the value we bring. And, it's like Lupe was saying, it's just, we're not the Golden Girls anymore as much as we love them. We're still being seen as that in a sense, versus being seen as the same age of Sex and the City women. As being, 55 is the new 55, 45 is the new 45. We are bigger and badder than ever before. And it's just sad that we're not seen as that in some organizations, not all, because we're working with some that get it.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, we just live in a youth obsessed culture. Everyone, there is this anti-aging this, and you don't want to grow old. And if you get to a point in time in your, life, then you're past your prime. But reality is again, like I was saying earlier, the life expectancy of people 100 years ago, so like that's not even that long ago, was like mid-50s. So there's truly no kind of real benchmark for people to see the value or understand the value. And so I think it's going to take all of us. It's going to take, the corporations. I think it's going to take society. I think it's going to take us ourselves too, hitting the pavement, having those conversations, like Barb was saying, 55 is the new 55, owning your age and realizing and stepping into that and educating as part of it, saying, I'm not ready to just, retire and move on. Like we've got a long runway ahead of us.
Yeah. And it's funny because we always say that this is the one ism that is accepted on the comedy stages, that's accepted in rom-coms, that's accepted behind closed doors as a laugh or something to josh at. When in actuality, everyone, we just aged, a few minutes being on this call. And by the way, I still feel the same, which is, that's age. And so, so we've got to somehow put an end to this ism being the one that is still circulated as a ha ha he when it's not, because that just perpetuates it.
I so agree with you. And I just wonder also, Lupe, you were talking about this. I wonder whether advertising, which has just focused on, we can give you wrinkle cream and it's how you look, it's made everybody, I think, nervous to say, oh my God, I have a wrinkle here. Does this mean I won't get the promotion? I mean, it's like, hey, I'm so much more than my face, I'm so much more than my skin. Why would you think any different? But I think we've been bombarded in the television. We've been bombarded with youth, and that's where it's at. And if you're not with it, when you start to look old, we're just going to put you over here. Well, I don't.
Yeah, and it's sad.
At all,
It's sad because our tastes really haven't changed that much. And if they have, it's because we may have the money or not, depending at your age, to do something different. But in actuality, I'm sitting at 55 and advertisers probably don't recognize that people like me, even at 55, are still listening to hip hop and R&B and still listening. I'm still listening to pop music. I like Justin Bieber and Post Malone, but I've added to my repertoire. I've added, smooth jazz, and I've added other things. So my sensibilities have actually broadened. And now in actuality, I have the capability, if brands would take advice, to, buy their products or use their products, because we have the discretionary income, and we're a $15 trillion buying authority. Women is specifically over 50. So we're not all needing a ton of pharmaceuticals. Now, listen, we need some of them. I know I do, but I'm just saying we don't need all of them. We're just, depends and those kinds of things. Add to that. Yeah. Add to that. We're much more than that.
Absolutely. And just to add one other kind of just element to that too. So, I think it also kind of goes both ways. We always, with our community, we really try to remind women how awesome they are. And because I think sometimes when we get to that age, we forget, or we buy into those, inherited beliefs or ideas, or that lookism standard that brands put out there for us, right? So I think it also takes us as women, 40, 50, 60 plus, to also look in the mirror and be proud of what's looking back at you, versus buying into that BS that says, oh, you got some wrinkles, don't even bother, or don't wear that cute shirt because it's no longer appropriate for your age. I think that's where we need to, individually start to step into our own power and do what makes us feel good, not checking someone else's boxes about what we should or shouldn't do.
Even if that means owning your gray hair.
Yeah. And
okay.
It goes beyond even the 60s. I mean, into the 70s, into the 80s. I mean, look at Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, who are out there kicking it.
Oh yeah.
So many people. The age should not be a factor. It's how you want to be perceived and how you act, who
Yeah.
you are.
It's like we were in our 20s and 30s and 40s, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always say too, I mean, in our community, we learned this amazing term from Barbara Waxman, who's a renowned kind of speaker and gerontologist, but adolescence, just like adolescence, is another life stage at 40 and 50, 60 plus that we step into. So just like adolescence, there's not a lot of things that we're going to know about being 40, 50, because this is our first time being 40, 50 plus, right? So
Right.
I think there has to also just be a little grace and a little kind of just understanding that this is a new life stage we're stepping into. And there's a lot of still just unknowns out there. And so making sure that we show up as our, the person that we want to be and the person that we want to become, and kind of just making and investing in those steps now to be that version of yourself later on is, I think, an important thing to remind everyone that you don't have to know it all. You don't have to be at a certain point in time. You don't have to have a certain title or a car, is just another life stage. And we're only halfway through the game.
Do you kind of feel that women believe that if they work hard, that they'll be noticed? And if that's true, what do you think is the fallacy in that thinking?
Noticed in what way?
Yeah. Well,
noticed, promoted,
Oh, gotcha.
this is true of any minority group. We always feel like we are representing, so we have to do and be more in the eyes of others to get ahead. So we always have to do much more on the job. We have to act a certain way from time to time. We have to do things that perhaps, would not be something we'd want to do. And I'm not saying anything illegal, obviously. I'm just saying, if probably shouldn't even use that as an example, but I'm just saying, from time for any minority group of which we are, and, I myself am a triple minority. So, it's one of those that sadly we have to, and we would like to see where it gets to that point where we can work just the same amount of time and energy as our male / allies that are counterparts. But for now, we do. And it depends on the industry, in tech. Yes, probably. In some of the others, I don't know, but I would say as a minority woman, I know that I always worked a little bit harder to, to prove myself. I never really realized that's what it was to really prove to others, but I think women do. I don't know. What do you think, Lupe?
I think women by nature are multitaskers and hustlers. I think we're always doing everything to the umpteenth level. And so I feel like sometimes we raise the bar on ourselves, because we're so used to being this just powerhouse. And I think sometimes what ends up happening is that there's these expectations that I think are just put out there because, when the tough gets going, we look to women and women are known for being, great leaders, and women are known for being multitaskers, and women are we're known for so many things that at certain points in times, it gets to a little point where it can be overstretching. Right. And so I think those are the times when we need to definitely take stock of what we're saying yes to and what we're saying no to ensure that we we try and keep a balance. Because in our community too, there's a high prevalence of burnout and just overexertion, both in career and in business. And women, during COVID, we saw women were being ousted out from the corporate, workplace because we were being paid too much, or they just wanted to kind of, what they say, clean up and get rid of some of the older folks, whatever it might be. But I think there's a lot of realities that, I think in the moment sometimes definitely are very gloom and doom. But we know that a lot of women ended up leaving corporate America, started some amazing businesses on their own afterwards. So it's kind of like taking that, lemons and making lemonade out of it. But in the meantime, we still need to have those conversations about these realities that we're facing on the job and in life at 40 and 50 plus.
And adding a little vodka to it. Okay.
And we talked about, that's really what we're talking about previously, was mindset.
Yeah.
So do you think maybe that our own stereotypes of older women could become a self-fulfilling prophecy? In other words, if I think that a woman under 50 because of advertising or whatever we're bombarded with, is painting that picture? Do you think we start thinking that way and that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? Now, I don't, simply because I'm not that personality type or something. I'm always get out there and go.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing you say as well is that other people are not feeling as confident about it. And I worry that if they're not confident, then they may be buying into the stereotypes, and then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So I feel like there are two sets. I think when I think about our community, I think I think there's a large portion of women who love their age, love where they're at, have started over successfully. Some are working for that success, but they have started, companies or switched careers, and they're happy where they're at and they're owning their age. It's a privilege. They understand that. They have the confidence. And then you have another set of our women, and I can't really think of the percentage because eventually we'll be doing a survey on this, but then you do have the other women who are quite the opposite. Pardon me, that's my 3-pound dog now playing with her toy. But then you have, that other side that are both entrepreneurs and or career women who are just feeling the heat, and in some instances feeling as if the younger folks took their jobs, when in actuality that's not the case, because that was us as Gen Xers, right? Where we were getting hired and other people weren't. So what we say to them is, that's where Lupe and I come in. It's really the corporations that are saying, I want to hire young. The other, all of us are just trying to get a job or have a career. So we actually preach, and even when we're speaking to corporations, we preach to our ladies and make sure they understand that we as women, all of us, are in it together no matter the age, and that intergenerational teams are the best. You get higher productivity, which means you actually get higher productivity. Higher bottom line. And so we try hard for them to not put the onus on the younger folks, because it's not them. It's really the mindset of corporate America, who's made up of mostly white males, who still have boys clubs in some instances, and in some other instances they get it. They're about DE&I initiatives and so on and so forth. So
it's evolving, I guess.
Yes.
I think it's a work in progress, right? Like nothing's ever 100% to the point where we want to be, but if there's at least positive momentum forward, then hopefully change is on the horizon.
Where besides a workplace do you think gendered ageism is present?
Oh,
tech.
Yeah. I mean, she said tech, and I think you hit it on the nose earlier when we were talking about just advertising, marketing, brandism, the fact that I think right now, a lot of us struggle to see ourselves represented in the way that we see ourselves in commercials, on advertisements, on billboards or magazines or whatever it might be, right? Like there's this idea of what to include and what not to include. Now, there's been some brands that I think are making great stride on that front, but I think that's another area where we see that there's this just, they're just missing the boat on what today's woman is at 40, 50, 60 plus.
But you have people like Doug
what are you hearing
at
from
Target and
go ahead, at Target.
No, I was just going to say that there are certain companies that you can tell just from their advertising messages. And if you go to their website or see their socials, you could tell that they get it, because they're all inclusive, and that means of age, of disabilities, of all of that. So
what are you hearing from women in their 60s and their 70s and their 80s? What are you hearing? Are they involved in your organization? Do they think of themselves as a second act? And do people want to get out there and start businesses in their late 60s or 70s? What are you hearing about all that?
Absolutely. I will tell you. So our niche is really the 40, 50 years young woman, but we're not the ageist. So yes, we have people that are in their 60s and 70s that are a part of our organization, and also are part of it because they're ready to continue moving. They're not over the hill. They're at the top of the hill like all of us. So, we're out there like us popping those damn black balloons that say over the hill. And yes, they're starting over. They, as in we, really, or doing their own thing, I should say.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think we're all, I think with the beautiful, like also gift that comes with living a lifetime on this earth too, is I think a lot of these women also see like the potential for almost stepping into and honoring themselves a little bit more so than they probably did in their younger years. Like now we hear of women saying, I'm getting rid of this relationship because it no longer serves me, or I'm not going to do this, because I don't want to, or, it's, I feel like there is this almost kind of like a reclaiming of one's kind of just interests and passions and like, just self that I think is leading women to be a little bit more, what we say selfish in a good way, right? Where they're like saying, finally, like, I mean, my responsibilities aren't necessarily as dispersed as they were. Maybe I'm not raising kids anymore, or maybe I'm not hustling to that, job anymore, or, whatever it might be. Now I've got the time to like focus on me. And so they're finally reprioritizing and hopefully fulfilling on some of those dreams and aspirations that they had, when they were younger, that maybe they just didn't have the bandwidth of time or money to be able to fulfill.
Well, I tend to think that a mindset, because that's where we are again, talking about mindset, even with these older women, maybe if they kind of get into a different space, it may affect how they, maybe even their health, their longevity, because they don't feel old. Maybe they won't be old. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, say that again, Nan.
Oh, we can't hear you, Barb.
Oh, whoops. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, repeat that, Nan.
Well, I'm just thinking that maybe if we have a positive mindset about aging, like you were talking about with the women who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and I'm just wondering if that might affect positively, if they have a good feeling about aging, that might even affect their health and maybe even their longevity.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. It also affects the way those of us that are coming up behind them our thinking and our mindset too, about when we turn that age, when we turn 65, 75, 72, whatever it may be. Absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't done the research. I do believe this is why they're saying we're living longer, is because of our health, because we are living, we're taking care of ourselves a lot more. We understand it's okay to have those moments where you can also feel the feels and have a good cry. You can admit that you're living with depression, or you could admit, or your friend can admit to you and know that you will accept it and that you will be there. So there's all these different things that I think that has opened up in our world in terms of positivity and aging, and that it's changing mindset. And I don't know if you even noticed that we have our ages on screen, because we make sure that we own our ages, and we make sure that our community owns their ages, because eventually saying and knowing and owning that age will eventually be like, oh yeah, I'm 56. Oh yeah, I'm 57. And not have what happens if I put my age on screen and this is going to be seen to the public? I don't want everybody to know my age scenario. So that's my thought.
Well, it's funny. I can really relate to that, because this year I'm turning 80.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yay! Congratulations!
But I am working all the time with people in their 50s, maybe a few in their 60s. So 80 to me is just kind of a number. It's like, I don't know how in the world it even happened that I got to be that old, but yeah, that old is fine. And
we like to say it's not just a number, and then you fill in the number. So the rest of that sentence. So age is not just a number. It's, who I am. It's my confidence. It's, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Second Act. How did you find each other to form Second Act?
Well, we had, a mutual friend. So as we were mentioning earlier, we kind of both had our own like lives in marketing and PR. And at the time we had a mutual client who was also a mutual friend bring us together on an initiative where I was providing PR consulting support and Barb was director, of Park Meadows.
Yeah, director of marketing and business development for a shopping center in Denver. Yes.
And we were brought together on a particular project, and I don't know, there was just something about her. There was this vibe that I'm like, ooh, I could get to know her really well, right? And
vice versa.
And lo and behold, a few months afterwards, I found out she had left her position there and had kind of started up and was doing marketing on the side through her, her own company. And I was doing PR on my own. And there was just a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate and connect and pursue new jobs, or excuse me, new clients together. And so I asked her out and I said, hey, do you want to work with me on some projects? She said yes. And the rest is history, because we started since then, we ended up starting up our marketing company and then went on to start SecondActWomen, and kind of like the story is still being written on where our next venture will take us.
And the funny thing is, Nan, we consciously uncoupled in 2018, because I'm guessing people are going, well, wait a minute, what about 2018 when you started this company? So in 2018, I wanted to go, and she said it, we kind of both said it, but we wanted to go into corporate. And so that's when we consciously uncoupled. And then here we are again, I think the Lord works in mysterious ways, she's bold enough to put up with me for the last 3.5 years again,
vice versa.
And it's been, and ever since we will always be in each other's lives. There's no doubt. So we've actually become best friends as well.
Well, having a partnership in a way, and that's kind of what you have, is not always easy. I think it is difficult, because just having 2 points of view, here's a big question for you. Do you both have different skills so that you balance each other rather than the same?
Oh, abso-freaking-lutely.
That's what makes it a success then.
And we're not going to sit here and say that it was easy from the get-go. Like, I think we've had some years under us, and we've started a couple of other companies in the past, and we've been friends for decade plus.
Yeah.
And so I think we're still learning about each other, which is the beautiful thing. And I think, what we've now kind of come to a point in time in our partnership is recognizing that if we correct each other, or when we correct each other, or when we share things, or when we make decisions that maybe the other doesn't agree with, I don't think it's to belittle the other person. Like, I think you have to give the other person some credit to just say, hey, you know what? I know that she's doing this with the best interest in heart for the company and for my personal growth, or whatever it might be, right? Versus she's trying to be right, or whatever. And so I think there's this level of understanding that has to happen in order for any partnership to succeed. Because otherwise, I think there's just too great a risk for animosity and misunderstanding and contention that would do no one well, or it would serve no one well.
Yeah, and we always like to be honest with people. She's right, because it's we're lucky enough that if we get on each other's nerves, or if I do something, or if she does something, we will now talk it through. And it's gotten us to this point. And I'm the person who likes answers immediately. I'm like the one who wants to jump on things. And I've recognized that, she's the one that needs to soak it in and take a day or two to really think about this decision that I immediately want to jump on. So we have come through peaks and valleys where it's gotten to this point where, as she said, we recognize when to say when, and when to how to work with one another on the different things. And yes, we do have different backgrounds. So, and mine crosses one of hers, which is the public relations. We both have that. And then, she has copywriting and all kinds of really amazing skill sets. And I have the marketing acumen. So it comes together collectively very beautifully, in a sense. And we're both wicked smart. And so, which is not something in the past I would have admitted about myself, but I'm owning it. And so,
And we enjoy each other's company. I think that's important. You gotta like the person that you're working with. Otherwise, what are you doing?
right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Second Act. What features and benefits does your organization, the Second Act, bring to the table for women experiencing gendered ageism?
Yeah. Do you want to take that one, Barb, or do you want me to?
Well, I would say some of the things. So we are a personal and professional development company. So we're a membership community that provides workshops and retreats and conferences. And Lupe and I are getting into coaching. And so we approach everything on the foundation of work-life money, of which ageism can cross all those boundaries. So we make sure that as we're leading any session or our experts are leading anything, that is always tied to owning your value, which is a part of ageism, owning your confidence, owning your negotiation skills, like all these things that really, in a sense, again, can be affected through feeling as if you have faced ageism. And so, so we make sure that we interject learnings in a different kind of mindset, growth mindset, so that they're not fixed. And the idea that whatever they're learning to do, it's not because of age they can't, or it's not because of age that they, can, that will hold them back. Does that make sense? That we make sure that we interject ageist and confidence and all those things that can affect, again, how and why you may feel ageism is against you.
Yeah. And, and in addition to obviously education events and tools, we also provide access to an amazing community of women, almost like 10,000 plus strong across all of our various platforms. And I think that is definitely the heart of the organization. And so women have the opportunity in this community to share what's going on with them. And odds are you'll find someone, if not more, people that have been in your shoes that can offer that great piece of advice, or that, pick me up, idea, or introduce you to someone that may be able to be, that person that you needed to speak to or connect with to get that job or whatever it might be. So I think the community is paramount, because we've been able and blessed to attract an amazing group of women that it would take years for other women to create on their own. So this network is just an amazing resource, I think, in addition to all the tools and resources that we provide as a company.
Well, I'm working with so many women in their 40s, 50s and up. What do you think are the biggest pain points or problems or challenges that they express?
When finding a job, or just in general?
In general.
So I feel like a lot of women right now, one of their biggest pain points is just owning the fact that they're aging and feeling okay in their skin about it. Like when COVID happened, for example, a lot of women went gray, and then we started to go back to work. And for a lot of women, they're like, oh, should I color my hair? Should I not? It was a real conversation. So I think because of the whole topic we've been talking about, that fact that we've got these outdated ageist attitudes out there on our backs, I think a lot of our women right now just really are trying to kind of figure out, how do I gracefully step into 40, 50, 60, 70 plus and feel good in my skin and feel like I still, got what it takes to kind of contribute and be an active participant at both work, life, and everywhere in between. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And I think women are navigating it in different ways. But I think that, and I think also women just feeling valued and supported, right? This idea that, I walk into a space and I'm no longer seen as that 20, 30-year-old, or whatever that perception is, right? So how do I balance that? How do I feel good in my skin, but still know that I've got a wealth of knowledge to contribute and own that? So I think some of those initial kind of challenges kind of lie in those two realms as too. Did you have any others to add, Barb, on that front?
No, you nailed it.
What are you hearing about women over 50 when they're talking about starting a business? Are you finding a lot of people are doing that? A few people? Tell me about that.
Yeah. Do you want to go, Barb?
Yeah. So one of our focuses, is the idea that these women, a lot of them, I would say probably 75 to 80% of our community are business owners and or side hustlers, where they're looking to, of that 80%, maybe 10% have a side hustle where they're looking to have that side hustle replace their current income in corporate. So what we've learned is, Lupe's been a business owner for, ever, but much like myself and others, what happens is you come from corporate America. And so you are an expert in one part of your business acumen. So you're an accountant. So that's your wheelhouse. You're a marketer. So you marketed products or services, whatever it may be. You were in, a manager of a department store, for instance. But now it's about starting a company. So where do you begin, and how the heck do you literally put all the nuts and bolts together to create a company, and a sustainable company? So that's where we come in, to try to help them fill in those potholes, so that, and give them shortcuts, so that, okay, we'll have an accountant, someone who's an expert in their field of QuickBooks and taxes, teach you how to use QuickBooks so that you can bill your clients. We'll have somebody come in at another workshop, teach you how to negotiate. Because what happens is we also come out, and while we may have been making 75, 80, 100K plus, now suddenly you have to create your own fees and determine your own value, which you were hugely valued in corporate America, perhaps, right, in that job. Now you're going to come back and say to an independent company or an independent or someone and say, I'm worth $100 an hour, and stop at that number. If that's your number, versus trying to say, I deserve the 100 because 100, it'll go here, there, So we teach them and or our experts, when it comes to a lot of these business owners, again, we try to broaden that breadth so that they can create a sustainable company, because a lot of us don't know what we're doing when we're starting these companies. I mean, filing an LLC, a lot of us didn't know you can go to your bank. Your bank can file that for you for $50. So.
Yeah. And in addition to that too, we're forging partnerships with organizations. I mean, we're not about reinventing the wheel either. So we're forging partnerships with other female and male owned organizations that are committed to serving our community and helping them, so as to kind of create, a kind of like a network, a concerted kind of go-to resource center, in essence, for women at all stages, whether they're just starting up or whether they're looking to scale. We want to be that kind of destination and that opportunity for women to just be both, to come to and feel confident that they're accessing the information and the resources and the connections that they need to further their career or their business.
Yeah.
Well, we have covered a lot of ground, but let's just leave with this. What are 3 takeaways for our audience? What do you really want them to have learned from what you've said, and take action? What kind of action?
Yeah, so I'll go first, Barb, because I see you thinking.
Yes.
So I would say the first one is appreciate the value of the woman that you see in the mirror. Like, don't underestimate her. Just because you're 40, 50, 60 plus doesn't mean you're any less valuable. So make sure that you love on her as much as you can. So that leads into my second one, which is take care of you, self-care. Unfortunately, burnout, depression, and a lot of other mental disorders are super prevalent as we age, because we get in our head about expectations or whatever it might be, right? Ease up on that. Take care of yourself. Whatever self-care means to you, you know how to take care of yourself best. So make sure that you do that every single day, that you're able to do that. And I think third is shoot for the stars. I'm going to be cliche. I'm going to say, don't let age get in your way, because it's just like we were saying earlier, it's just a number. And in this case, it's a number that suits you well, because that means you've acquired 40 some odd plus 50 some, 60, 70, whatever it might be, plus years of experience under your belt. So own it, do what you want on your terms, and don't let anyone get in your way.
And I want you, no matter what, if you're looking to switch careers, and by the way, that doesn't mean not all of us want to climb the ladder. That could be parallel. That could be taking something lower because you want less responsibility. You may want to climb the ladder. You may want to switch industries altogether or start that company. So I say, take out a pen and paper and write down all of your skills. Write down every single one of your soft skills that you have. And when you look at that page and you figure out, oh my gosh, I'm valuable and I need to make sure that whomever I'm interviewing with or whatever company I'm going to start, all of that, I bring so much to the table. So I say, take an assessment of your soft skills and also take an assessment of and audit your hard skills. I think you will surprise yourself. And I would do that in times when you are not feeling your best. You feel like you are unworthy or devalued or unheard, any of those things. I would then take that list out and remember that, oh my gosh, I have a lot going on. I am my own it girl.
And that's probably important to do, whether you're looking for a job or
Yes.
not, just to have that assessment of yourself and realize.
I was trying to find mine. I have mine in a notebook. Yes.
The dog may have eaten it.
Right. I was trying to show it to put it on, I've even written out, which I think is so good too. What's my purpose? So then I mind map that out, is it this, that, and the other? And so I think it's really important to take an assessment, kind of leading into what Lupe said, but really take that assessment because I think we will all surprise ourselves as to what comes out of that exercise.
Well, it has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me and the rest of our audience and giving us all your tips. And it is so important for people to be able to join your group. So tell them exactly how they can do that.
They can go to SecondActWomen, that's spelled out, SecondActWomen.com. We would also love for them to find us on Facebook. We have a beautiful community where we talk menopause, we talk mental health, we talk dating, divorce, love lives, all of that. And you can find that at Second Act Women. I'm going to turn it over to you, Lupe, because my dog is, acting up.
And they can also find us just on socials as far as LinkedIn, where we've created a business community for women there as well too. So again, under the auspice of Second Act Women, but sign up for our newsletter too at secondactwomen.com. We're always sending out a weekly newsletter. We've got one for our members, but one general community where it's chock full of reminders and tips and tricks and events that are coming up. And we'd love to see hopefully some new faces at some future events.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.